Stacy walked by me, and then she backed up real quick. She was like, Tracy? And I was like, and I'm like, yeah. She was like, come here. I was like, oh gosh, here we go. So she takes me in that little room, and she sat me down. She was like, can't tell me you're not high, because I know you are, so don't lie. She was like, I want you back in FMBA. I want you to be there Monday. I looked at her, and I was like, how dare you? How dare you tell me that I'm going to be somewhere, Well, I was there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Human Experience podcast. We have another guest with us, Tracy. We just met, literally talked 2 minutes, and she's going to be great. I can already tell. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you very much. We are so happy to have you and to share your human truth. That's what we do here at the Human Experience. We make sure that other people know that they're not alone, which we talk about all the time. You're part of the REACH program, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's awesome. Hashtag one tribe. We always say that because we think together with our connection to one another that we are stronger and that we can help tons of people. So that's how we kind of go through things. Tell me about Tracy. I kind of really like to start with the here and now because I think that's important before we just dive into the past. Who is Tracy now and kind of what is her purpose and vision in life?
Well, I'm Tracy, and I got 2 kids. I got an 8-month-old little girl, and then yesterday, my baby turned 7 years old. It's amazing. My kids are my life. And, of course, I'm coming up on 4 years of sobriety. Well, in March.
4 years. Good.
Yes. It's just...
Don't hold reservations towards your 4 years. You're not there yet.
Well, I know, but it just blows my mind.
It just seems normal now, right?
Right. I don't count the months anymore, nothing like that. I'm just like, wow. But anyways, I'm a single mom. I just live life. I do one day at a time. I really do. I never plan for the future, and I do have a higher power. Most definitely believe in my higher power, which is God. I'm a Christian. I'm laid back. You know what I mean? I just go with the flow, nothing interested. My purpose is, live a life that's worth living. Mm-hmm. Not just for me, but for my 2 babies. You know what I mean? Life's getting harder, but I'm going with it. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to explain it.
You feel worthy of a life worth living now. Can you talk about kind of when did you start feeling or knowing or understanding that your self-worth was coming back? Did it take a year into sobriety? Did it take 6 months? Did it take, 2 IOP classes? What did it take for you to be like, you know what? Tracy is worth something and I can stand for myself. I can stand on my own 2 feet and start to become somebody I always thought I couldn't be. What do you remember that moment at all, or maybe some instant or week?
I do. I remember when I was in the FMBA, we would have...
FMBA, please explain that because I think it's very important to kind of what REACH helps with and how the judicial system can help, but please explain what that is.
So FMBA is Judge Baynard's program. It is family moving beyond abuse. So what it is, it's a program if you're wanting it to get sober. They do not, they help you, you know what I mean, to work on you. Not everything around you, they don't, you know what I mean, they work on you because that is the whole purpose, is to find you, get sober. Because if you're not right, you're not going to be right for anybody else.
That's right.
So with Stacy's group, the groups and all that stuff, I got sober and I use other tools and learn how to cope and all that stuff. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I do my sobriety different because of the FMBA program.
How's that?
The 12 steps and all that.
Do you do the 12 steps?
No.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
I'm so interested now.
Yes, I did not.
Not that I wasn't before. Sorry, that sounded bad. But I'm super okay. Yeah, we like to keep it raw, like all together. The human truth is that sometimes the microphone is not where it needs to be when you feel comfortable telling your story. Now go.
So I do not do the 12 steps. I do not do meetings. Now, I do have my own NA meeting for all women on Mondays.
Interesting, but that falls under everything that NA is about. You go over the traditions, you go over the how it works,
Yeah.
you do all those stuff.
Yeah. Well, I do mine a little bit different, but I let the ladies know if that's what they want to do, they're more than welcome to, because I don't do none of that. My recovery is based on God.
Mm-hmm.
Because without him, I would not be able to walk. I would not be able to do anything. So my recovery, all this stuff that we have done in the program, I soaked all that up. Like my coping skills and, to reach out, stay connected, have a support. You always have to have somebody. Everybody has to have somebody. No, I don't care who you are.
No, I agree.
You might think that, I'm by myself. I'd rather be by myself. No, negative. You always have to have somebody. But anyways, sorry, I get sidetracked.
That was not sidetracked. It was dead on because Reach program is not affiliated with AA or NA, of course. The drug court kind of pushes the meetings and stuff, and I think that's for a consistency type thing. It's not necessarily, hey, I know you're going to get a ton out of it. But what I like most about Reach is what you spoke on, is that you're able to get things that apply towards everyday life, whether it's handling emotions. I mean, we went through an exercise the other day that had to do with kind of identifying connection, kind of what that means. So we had to stare in a dude's eyes that we never met before for 2 minutes solid. You ever did that one? Oh, so awkward. So I picked out, she's like, find somebody that you don't really know much about. And she's like, okay, sit across from him. And for 2 minutes solid, we stared at each other for 2 minutes. No words, no laughing, eye connection the whole time. And then you had to write down what you felt, what you thought about, and it was great. And it was all about connection, one thing I related to the most, and I'm getting sidetracked now, but one I related to the most was, like you said, you need somebody, and there's plenty of somebodies out there because we want to help others. That's why we're sitting here talking now, right? When I was looking at him, I looked away like this, and when I reconnected, I was like, man, I can't look away again, but I looked away anyway, looked away. But what I gained from that is, okay, say I'm in a program, I get off track a little bit, but I identify I'm off track. So I'm back to the connection.
Yep.
And then the second time was even quicker. Oh, so that's what connection kind of meant to me, is that, yeah, we get off track with our Reach program. We get off track with our AA meetings, our NA meetings. We get off track with God, right? Yep. God's the same way. Oops, I haven't been praying good this week. I'm back on. Right. So that's just one example that I have from the exercise that relates just so much to what the Reach program has done for me, for Tools for Life. And you don't have to be addicted to understand that. So it appeals to everybody, no matter if you've been through trauma or whatever. So you're dead on. Yeah.
That was a really good one. But I just do my recovery, like the way I live my life. Some people that don't know me, they would never even think that I'm an addict, because I don't do the 12 steps, and you know what I mean. When I talk about my recovery, and I just talk about like my kids, God, and et cetera, et cetera. But I've learned so much from the Reach program, the FMBA, that it's dude, it just, I wish I grasped this 5-6 years ago,
well,
before, you know what I mean? I wish I took it serious the first time, because this was my second time.
When you went to, so signing those papers for FMBA is basically like, if I don't get it right this time, then you have every right to my kids, correct?
Yeah.
So was that your last option? I shouldn't say that, because you always have an option because you're the mother to those kids. Right? I always have an option because I'm the dad to those kids, unless they end up signing them away. But was it a judge that ordered you, hey, basically you need to sign these, or you're in jail for a long time, or what was it?
Okay, so I had relapsed, and the lady that's got my son, his memo, she took me back to court to get a hair follicle. And of course, I was high and I was like, oh my gosh, how dare her, blah, blah, blah. We're mad. Well, anyways, that right there was an eye opener. I was sitting there waiting for the judge, and Stacy walked by me, and then she backed up real quick. She was like, Tracy? And I was like, and I'm like, yeah. She was like, come here. I was like, oh gosh, here we go. So she takes me in that little room and she sat me down. She was like, can't tell me you're not high because I know you are. So don't lie. She was like, I want you back in FMBA. I want you to be there on Monday. And
And have you already been to the REACH program at this time? Or have you seen Stacy before?
I did once before, but I didn't. It was like 3-4 days. I didn't take it serious
Right.
because I wasn't ready.
Right.
But when she done that, I looked at her and I was like, how dare you? How dare you tell me that I'm going to be somewhere, Well, I was there. So I went to women's group for like 60 days. Nobody told me well, besides Stacy, but I wasn't made to. I didn't have to, but
Stacy suggested it.
Right.
Hey, I think this group would be good for you.
Yep.
She did the same thing with the men's group.
Yep.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
Yep. And that from that day, and of course, I did a hair follicle and I failed my test and, all that stuff. But from that day, from Lori getting a hair follicle and I seeing Stacy, that's when I was like, okay, it's.
So that was the moment.
Yep.
That was the moment.
Yep. So I did it for like 60 days on my own. Nobody, matter of fact, the 60th day of me being at Stacy's, that's when I actually got in the REACH program, like in FMBA. That's when they approved it, and that's when I had to do it all.
Wow!
Like I had no choice. Like
that's
I had
great.
to. Yeah. So that's when I was like, all right, enough's enough. It was crazy. Like not crazy, but it was just amazing. Like how it just worked out.
That's right.
And it opened my eyes.
Only could be God.
Right. That's right.
All right, so take me back. So now we can start digging in the past a little bit. We got your purpose now, your kids, and you have them all back now. I like to tell success stories up front. What does that look like now? What does that family dynamic look like now?
I get my son Tuesday through Thursday for like a few hours because, he got school and all that. And then Friday nights, he stays all night with me.
Which is a huge deal, correct?
Yes. It's a big change,
That's awesome.
At first, he was like, oh, wow, no, like, I'm not going to see my mama and my daddy. And I'm like, no, baby, that's not how this works. Like,
right.
You're just staying with mama, I promise,
Yeah.
So it is. It's a very big change.
Okay, so tell me the Tracy that nobody knows. So that they can't explain, that it's hard to explain who you were. It's hard to explain to other people who you were. Tell me and kind of your story and kind of where it started.
That's hard.
Okay. Yeah, I know it is hard. I like it when Stacy does a timeline when somebody tells their story.
Yeah.
It kind of like maps it out or whatever. Where are you from? Or were you born around here?
Yeah, I'm in Louisville. Well, Shepherdsville, Kentucky. That's
Shepherdsville.
Born and raised.
Awesome. In high school, did you have problems?
Yeah.
Like, were you actively addicted in high school?
Yeah, I only did my freshman year and dropped out my sophomore year.
Wow.
Yep. That's when my freshman year's when, the smoking pot and drinking and, losing your virginity. That's when all my stuff started rolling. Right. Well, not really. Well, yeah, it started rolling, but before then I was doing pain pills. But other than that, that's when everything started getting heavy.
Gotcha. Was it normalized in your childhood? Did you see it growing up? What did your childhood look like?
So my mom, she don't do drugs. And they would drink. My mom and dad would drink on her anniversary, but my mom was like the opposite. My dad, on the other hand, my daddy was the party, crazy, everything. He did everything. Sorry, my dad's a hard subject.
No, that's okay.
He did anything and everything. We seen a lot as kids, me and my sister, and we shouldn't have. But my childhood was. I would go back to the time, but I wouldn't want to go back to the way I was living. You know, my mom would have 2 or 3 jobs trying to take care of me and my sister while my dad's out partying and taking the money. You know, we had a really bad childhood. We really, really did. Hopping to house, you know, my mom, in the midst of all this, my mom was always trying to provide for us and work, you know.
Which is absolutely amazing now, because when I look back and kind of what parents had to sacrifice now,
Right.
I mean, I'm blessed that I've had multiple opportunities to provide for my children, but looking back, I'm like, how the heck did mom do that?
That is exactly what I tell my mom.
Right.
I'm like, how in the heck, how? You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine trying to do that and, you know, have 2 kids and having a husband like my dad, you know, and the stuff that she's went through. You know, it's very, when I tell you this, a lot of people's thinking I'm crazy. Like, they're like, there's no way you remember this. What traumatized me, I was 3 years old, and I remember plain as day, my dad was wearing a white shirt and wearing blue jeans, and I was wearing just a diaper, and my dad had kitchen knives, and he had my mom up on the wall, and he was about to stab her, and I was in the middle screaming, "Daddy, don't, no, no, Daddy, no." 3 years old. I remember that plain as day, and that's what really traumatized me. You know, my mom's like, "I cannot believe you remember that." I'm like, "Yeah."
And she can confirm the age because she remembers, oh my God, Tracy's sitting here watching this.
Yeah, because she was like, "You was 3 years old, Tracy."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all I could see was them kitchen knives. You know, he had a bunch of them, and it just, the drugs was, you know, stuff that he was doing.
So from then on, it was always trauma. It was always house to house. You know, you could feel the stress of any situation.
Yeah.
Drugs laying around. I mean, do you remember any of that growing up?
No, they didn't have the drugs laying around, but there was alcoholic. My grandpa, my dad, all of them, like, they all drunk a lot. So only thing that was really laying around was the alcohol.
Gotcha.
But yeah, drugs, no, there was never no drugs laying
So
around.
some of the erratic behavior and understanding kind of what goes with that became normalized to you.
Yeah.
And so by the time you were a teenager,
I thought life was a party.
right?
You know, I thought it was normal to get drunk, or I just thought it was normal to fight people and get mad and be rage all the time and put your hands on people, and, you know, it's like, no, life's not supposed to be like that, you know?
Yeah, I can totally understand. It's kind of a different situation, but the emotional response is what I know that I didn't have any tools to deal with any of that.
Right.
Whether it was I was a kid, they didn't change, right? So the time I was 8, I was still acting like that when I was 20.
Right.
Because nobody, I mean, they don't give a class on that in school,
No.
right?
Right.
So okay, we get to your high school years, you drop out. What's behind that? No support at home? I mean, what did your mom, I mean, how did that look as far as dropping out?
My mom, she begged me,
Mm-hmm.
and would just cry, "Please don't do this. Please, I'm begging you."
What were your plans?
I didn't have none.
Just party?
Party.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just up to the, you know, my dad had to go to a halfway house to finish out his probation because he, you know, got violated. And, but anyways, I was like, what the heck? What's the reason? You know what I mean? Why? Like, why can't I drop out and just lay around or party and do all this? And I'll never forget. My mom begged me and begged me. I'm like, why not, Mom? You know. Now I'm just like, dang. I wish I did finish high school, but
Do you have your GED now?
not yet. Not yet, but I am working on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes, I'm working on that.
So when you drop out of high school, where do you go? What do you do?
I just
Exist.
party. You know, I was always drinking. Man, I would smoke pot and stuff, but when I drank, I would drink and just drink and just drink, and, you know what I mean, until I black out. And then when I wake up, I would just drink and just drink because I was like, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. And then I got to really digging and thinking, man, I would just drink. You know what I mean? I might as well took a bath in it because I would just drink and drink until I'm puking blood. And I was doing that because I was just like, my dad, he's not here. My mom's never here because she's always working and blah, blah, blah. So why not? Hell with life.
And you were 15, 16.
Yep, 15 years old.
Is there a time, when did you have your first child?
I'm 24.
24. So what did those 8 years look like before that?
Be honest with you.
You just drank day in and day out for 8 years?
No, when I quit drinking and I would just smoke pot and do pills. I didn't, my dad passed away in 2011 and I was 19 in November. It was November. December's my birthday, so I turned 20. I was 20 years old when I first tried meth. 20 years old. And I was just smoking it and snorting it then. Well, anyways, so I did all that, and then I got pregnant with Braylon, and then I was 24, and I was, at the time I was just doing heroin and an off and on. I was 24 when I started shooting up.
Do you remember the first time?
Yes, I do. The first time, it was...
Let me ask a crazy question, because I remember the first time that Oxycontin was introduced to me and how to crush it up and snort it. I remember that. Is the person that showed you how to do that alive?
No.
Mine either.
No, the person that showed me how to do it, the night that she overdosed was supposed to have been, that same dope that she overdosed on was supposed to be mine. But I told her my dad wanted it. She bought it, and it dropped her.
Man. Wow.
Yep. So I was like, if that's not God, I don't know what is, because that could have been me.
But that didn't stop you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just on to the next batch.
Right.
Why not that batch? Only God? Or was there a reason that you had that entered your mind that, like, maybe you didn't trust it?
To be honest with you, I can't even tell you.
Right.
I don't even know. And it just blows my mind because I don't even know. All I know is I was supposed to got that.
Right.
And I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you go back on your stories and you start figuring out just certain times that God showed up and kind of carried you through and understood that you deserve another opportunity because you get to come on here and help somebody out there that has the same story. Some young lady thinking about dropping out of high school because life's a party. She just doesn't get it, doesn't have a purpose. What do you have a message to a young lady thinking about dropping out of high school? I mean, is it, obviously life is not a party. It's easy to say, right?
Right.
But what kind of message do you have to them?
And just literally, when you think about it, just don't do it, because I promise you, whatever you're thinking about, it's not that good. It might sound good, and you might be like, oh man, it'd be great to stay home and do this or whatever. Don't, because I'm telling you, when they say it ruins your life, if there's a piece in you that it really ruins your life. Because when I dropped out, and a couple months later, when I was like, damn, what am I doing with myself? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just sitting there. So, of course, I continue to get drunk and high, and you just don't, because I'm telling you, I'm 30 years old, and I'm wanting to get my GED so I can go back to school for business or something like that, and it's a struggle. If you think high school's a struggle, wait till, I don't know what A/G_U_X, all that.
Not just the math. You're talking about everything across the board.
Yes,
anything.
Everything.
Basic stuff that you think is just not usable.
Right.
Right. And, of course, there's a lot of non-usable things in high school, but it creates, some place to be, gives you a task to do.
Yeah.
And you need all those things to complete a task, and what that feels like to dig in and get a D and barely pass. That's still something.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's showing up as something.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for being open and honest with that, because now with the truancy and all that stuff, I think it looks a lot different. They hold the parents accountable, or try to, and they have even truancy officers for certain schools like city schools here. You know, I know a great one that goes around and he knows everybody's grandma and auntie, and they, you know, he was gonna find you, right? And there's also a situation local that I'm trying to help with, and this kid got in some trouble at school, and she said he didn't show today, and I'm like, I got a podcast at noon. I'll be done 1:30 or so. Let's go get him. You know, because they understand the support of just keeping them in.
Yeah.
You know, if just let us see her face, then you actually get a shot. So, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, you started IV use. Is it called IV use? I don't see. That's one thing I didn't do, which I'm thankful for, but also scares me because I know there's something still out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of twofold, which I don't guess I've ever told anybody that, but you know, I might be holding reservations about me. Hey, there's one more step.
Try, right?
There's one more step, you know, right?
Right.
But so I'm very thankful. I don't think there's a difference. Myself, it's easy for me to say if I've never done it. I think that you know, certain programs and having somebody, like you said, you're not alone. Make sure you find somebody. So, how did you enter in the rooms of Reach program, or the first time you went to NA, or the first time you went to rehab? I mean, what drug you there? Because usually, well, somebody drags you there usually.
Mm-hmm.
When's the first time for you?
So I remember going to like the Brooklyn or whatever it's called. I remember going there for like a few days.
And is this around the time that you were pregnant with your first, or?
Oh no, this is way before. I would just go to like mini rehabs, as I call it, because it was like a stay for a few days and then get out. But my son's dad and his memo, I remember when I was on heroin, and I never shot heroin, or I did a couple times, but that wasn't my thing. I didn't like shooting it, so I was always snorting it. Well, anyways, so I was at their house, and I was so sick, up sick, and I was like, oh my gosh. So, anyways, Lori, which is Braylon's memo, she found me a rehab. It was a 30-day program. I think it was Recovery Works, but it was in London, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so Lori, her sister, Holly, and Daniel, Braylon was a baby, and they took me all the way to London, Kentucky, and I stayed there for 30 days. And get this, the day that I get out, while I'm in there, my memos there have passed away. She had dementia and Alzheimer's. So they gave me a 12-hour pass. And, you know, I go see her, and then I come back, and I was all good. Well, the day that I get out, on the way, I get high.
The day after the 30 days. Yep. Boy, nothing stuck.
I got out, stopped at a store, got high.
I mean, the whole time, okay, because this is going to relate to a lot, especially newcomers. So you're in a 30-day program. I mean, were you just like, I can't wait to get out of here to get high? Or were you bought in? Or what you thought was bought in?
To be honest with you, I didn't think about it the whole time I was there. It's just
the freedom as soon as it.
Yep.
Wow.
Got out, and it was right there.
Cunning and baffling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Yep.
All right, so what did that look like in the next couple of years? I mean, how long did that run last? Until you found another facility, or did you lose Braylon in between there?
Yeah. They got where I had no contact or anything, and that was kind of like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, you know, my son, but then it got to where I didn't see him. Mm-hmm. And partied it out. That didn't stop me, you know. I continued to get high and run around, and you know what I mean, be numb, didn't want to think about it. So I was on probation this whole entire time. From the time I get out of London, I'm on probation. But my probation officer...
What did you get in trouble for initially?
So back in 2015, first charge, never been in trouble, never done anything. Hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Mm-hmm. Always.
It was so crazy because the judge couldn't believe it because he was like, you know, I have no charges, nothing. Anyways, I had 7 co-defendants. 7 co-defendants.
For what?
They busted in on me. They came in and So we came in from the store. I had locked my door, left my keys in there. So the guy that I was with, he tore the door handle off. Well, anyways, the neighbor called the law. And
Thought y'all were breaking in?
Mm-hmm. Thought we was breaking in, came in, and we was all gone. But anyways, I had 7 co-defendants, and man, it was so crazy because every one of these that was with me has been in and out, in and out, in and out of jail, been in prison and all that, and I'm the only one that. Mm-hmm. So what do you think's running through their mind?
Yeah.
You know, so of course, at the end of the day,
you got it all.
I got it all.
Yeah.
But it's okay because, knock on some wood, I ain't been back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have 50 million times. But anyways, so
I got another point. Are all those alive?
They all are. And then this one girl, I don't know. I ain't heard from her, seen from her. Nobody's seen or heard from her. So I'm guessing she still is. I'm not for sure.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
You know where I'm going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, they're just in and out of jail and rehab. You know what I mean?
Best jails are institutions.
Yep. And, but, yeah, I took a plea for 3 for 5. And it was so crazy because everybody's like, don't take that first plea. Don't take that first plea. So my lawyer.
You didn't get a diversion or anything?
No.
See, I did.
Yep. See, my sister Brittany did too. They was like, everybody couldn't believe it, but I got a Class C felon. Like, it was like, you know, hardcore probation, I guess. But yeah, they wouldn't offer me diversion or nothing because of the amount of stuff they found, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like, I'm not taking that. And my lawyer looked at me and said, yeah, you are.
Why?
Because if I would have took it to trial, he said, Tracy, you're looking at 20 plus years in federal prison if you don't take this. Because they had evidence. So I took a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I already knew. But come to find out, I had a stack of statements. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Oh, well, I mean, it helped save your life.
Exactly.
So from that point on, no, this was earlier. So you went to 30 days off of there. Mm-hmm. Then you came off of 30 days. You started using again.
Yep.
So now you violated probation.
Yep.
Is this when the hair follicle came in or no?
No. This is right after he couldn't get me to come into his office and all that. And
so the judge ordered you to go to this 30-day program?
No, this 30-day program, I did it on my own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But further, let's go forward because it's a lot.
Yes, that's fine.
So I'm on probation, and I'm back home with my mom, and my probation officer showed up at my door. And, of course, I'm in bed from a binge. I'm sleeping, and I hear his voice. And he come in here, and he said, Tracy, I need you to wake up. So I woke up, and I was like, what? Like, I talked to him crazy, you know. And he's like, I need you to pack your stuff for 6 months. You got 30 minutes. I said, what? So, of course, I'm hurrying up, grabbing everything, and I had all this stuff, and he's like, you can't take all that. I was like, you said for 6 months, that's almost my whole life, you know? And so, needless to say, from 7 baskets and 2 big black bags, I have 1 black bag. He took me to a SAT program. In Louisville, it's all women's. Well, anyways, we pulled up, and I seen all these bars through the windows, and I'm like, I am not going in there. He's like, oh, yeah, you are. I was like, no, I'm not. You're not taking me here. It looked so creepy. Well, anyways, he sent me to a lockdown facility. He's like, you're not going nowhere, nothing.
Wow.
So, yeah, I went there for 6 months. And
what was that like?
Man, at first it was so rough, you know, because I went in, I was like, when I get out, I'm getting high, F this place, and blah, 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 you know. I had to write a lot of words. It was one of those things, the SAT program, you know, they hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. And they give you so many words to write and all that. And let me back up a little bit. So the day that Ron came, a couple of days before then, I had woke up. And when I woke up, like, I got up on my bed, and I hit the wall, and I fell down. And my mom was freaking out, and I was telling her that I couldn't talk. Like, they call it a mess stroke.
Really?
Yes. So I couldn't write. I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk at first. So
Wow, that's scary.
yes, it freaked me out. I mean, it was just so crazy. And later on, I kept going and kept going. And so I had to write all these essays. I had to write all these words, and I couldn't hardly, write. So they would make me rewrite it over and over again. But when I taught, like, I couldn't even, it was barely.
And you were still going through his 4 days later?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, I'll still sometimes.
Were you still using, though? You were still
yeah.
using after that, which is sick in its own way, right?
And, I mean, even still today, you'll see me, and sometimes my hand will shake. It's so crazy. But, yeah, no, that didn't stop me. But I did the 6-month program, and, in the 6-month or SAT program, they hold you accountable. You got to write all these words, and you got chores you have to do. They even have like jobs in there. Like I was the laundry lady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically, only thing is they didn't get you prepared for the outside world. That's the only thing,
Which is what you struggle with, because the moment you got freedom, it was on.
Going like that.
Yeah.
Well, when I got out of this 6-month program, my mom.
You were in there for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And my mom, she had breast cancer, so she was going through all that, and she had strokes while I was in there, just all this. But she never told me anything like that, But all that was going on, and I did all that. And so when I graduated from there, the main guy, his name's Ron, he looked at me, he said, Miss Leslie, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out here? I said, see my baby. He said, that's a better response than it was 5 months ago.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome.
So I did good for about 4 or 5 months. I relapsed again.
What did that aftercare look like then?
Well, I came home. It was so stressful. Everybody, still dealing with some people in my family getting high, and it was just very stressful.
That was living with you?
No, they wasn't living with me. They was staying there, I guess you would say, back and forth, because I was living with my mom. It was very overwhelming and stress. So I never recommend having that kind of environment when you get out. You know what I mean? If you're getting out of a treatment and it's a bad place, do not go to that place.
Right.
I
had to change mine up. It broke my mom's heart. I was living with her down in the basement, used constantly. She's very naive. She didn't understand. And then when I went to my 30-day program, when I got out, I just knew in my heart I had to change a lot up. I said, I'm going to move in with my dad for a little bit. And, I mean, tore her up. She felt guilty and shame, all that stuff. But I knew it was for the better. And so did everybody that was guiding me through that aftercare and what that looked like. Did you have any support, like any groups like REACH program for aftercare, IOP, or any of those women's groups, or did you hang on to AA or NA for a little bit? After you got out, Ron, did you say he didn't make you go to those things?
No.
They didn't set up a not a halfway house. I guess you were kind of in a halfway house, but any aftercare programs at all?
No.
So you white knuckled it for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. And then I had relapsed, and man, it was so crazy because I was just, smoking meth. Like I was like, I know I relapsed, but I'm not shooting up. I'm not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed I did what I said I wasn't going to, but it was so crazy because here I am. I noticed my time with my son was slimming down. Again. And I was sitting in a house full of people, and we was all high, and I'm sorry, they thought I was spazzing out because, like, I had my moments where I would freak out, but I jumped up, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing?
Wow, you had a white light moment.
Yes.
High, but a white light moment.
I was like, what am I doing? Like, I've been sober. Why am I doing this?
You jumped up and said that out loud.
So they all thought, like, oh my gosh, here we go.
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, sitting right there and high, and I was, like, freaking out. And I'm like, why am I doing this to my son? And I disappeared, and I got sober. Well, I went to a Suboxone clinic. Mm-hmm. And
how was that? Did you struggle with, like, getting those refilled and kind of not abusing those? Because when I went in and they suggested that, I said, I'm not buying anything that I bought. I'm not taking anything that I bought on the street.
Right.
Because I would take, Yeah, if I could get a hold of a half of Suboxone into a, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how did you do that? Did you have somebody hold you accountable for your prescription? Did you make sure that you didn't abuse them?
So
did it work? I guess
it did
for the time being.
For the time being, listen, it really did work. It works if you really want it. That's with everything, but I went in, okay, and I'll never forget. It was March the 8th. No, March the 9th, my sobriety date. The day that I went in, March the 9th of 2019, I went in there and I failed my drug test, of course, for opiates. That was the last drug test I failed.
Awesome.
I went in and, got on them. And at first I was like, man, I can't do this. Like, I cannot abuse them. I did good. I did really good. And then I started noticing, like, I was freaking out. It got further in, I want to say I was doing it 16 months. I started freaking out, and I was short, and you know what I mean? Because it comes along, like I was taking one extra than I was supposed to. But anyway, so I'm sitting in Indiana from a business trip because I worked at New Flyer America, and we had to go away for a week for training. So I'm sitting there, and I noticed I'm in there for 5 days, and I have 2 pills left. And I was supposed to take 2 a day. So I'm sitting there, and I'm, like, freaking out, and I'm calling them new lease, and I'm freaking out, and I'm calling the pharmacy. It was crazy. And I was like, holy cow. Like,
same thing.
Like, what am I doing?
It's the same. Look, you jumped up on your couch and said, why am I doing this again?
Yep.
Just in a different way.
Yep.
Like, why am I doing this?
And when I got back and I went in there and
So what happened on those 5 days? I want to know.
Oh, I was taking it, breaking it in pieces. Mm-hmm. So, like, I was trying to make it last. So the day that we go home, I'm so sick. And none of them knew. It was 2 other people with me. They didn't even know, but I was so sick.
Off of the Suboxone?
Yes. I was so sick. As soon as I got home, you know what I mean?
So do you feel that New Lease probably should have, and this is by no means against New Lease, whatever works for some people might not work for all, whatever. Did they try to wean you off of them? I mean, you're talking about how long now? 5, 6 months? I mean, how long of a period from the time you walked in March 9th?
Oh, I was on them for like 17 months.
17 months. So this is the end of the 17 months?
Yep. Yeah, because...
Did they ever dial them back instead of up them?
No, they never upped them.
It was always 2 a day?
Yeah. It was just 2 a day.
You were upping them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I was just upping them. But when I got home, I called New Lease, checked my appointment. The day that I went in on my appointment, at this time I was 15 months in, but I told him, I said, what do I got to do? I heard about the Sublocade shot. Okay, so for anybody that does not know what the Sublocade shot is, it's still a Suboxone shot, but it's very low dose. Okay, so I broke it down. I was taking 2 a day. Okay, so 2 a day, and I was getting 56 a month. So that's 936 milligram a month in Suboxone. Okay, with the Sublocade shot, it was 300 milligram. Mm-hmm. So that was a huge jump.
Right.
Now, some of them will tell you that you won't withdraw. Well, crap. You will.
Off the shot?
Yes.
Okay.
But anyway, so I went in and
you'll withdraw from the difference from the 900 to the 300? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You'll feel that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll feel that big, which they explained to the shot, it still releases the same amount. But in your mind, because your mind is... Mm-hmm. Everything, it will take you over. So I got to thinking, oh my God, that's $600 or 600 milligram difference, and I'm like all freaking out about it, Well, anyway, so I went in. I said I heard about the Sublocade shot. I want to get off this, and the doctor's first time I seen him there, and actually because I seen different ones, but he was the first one, and so he gave me the information on it, and he said, let me know, we'll get it ordered. So I was like, all right. So it took about 30 days, so I got it ordered. And they put it in your belly, like the shot. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I did it. And I got myself mentally prepared. And when I say this, because a lot of people's like, oh my gosh, you're such a B word when you say that. But you have to you know how when you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be puking. I'm going to have the poops. I'm not going to be able to eat. I can't work. I can't attend to my kids. I'm going to lay in bed and I'm going to be sweating and I'm going to be hurting.
Sick.
Yeah. You tell yourself all that. So flip the script and be like, all right, I'm going to be sick. It's going to be okay. I can get through this. You know, my legs are going to hurt, but it's all right. I'll rub them and, you know, I'll continue to eat soup and I'll drink a lot of Gatorade and I'll still get up and play with my son just a little bit.
I'll pray.
Yep.
I'll pray.
Oh, yeah. And that was another thing. Like, I kept telling myself, I'll pray, I'll pray, I'll pray. God's got me, God's got me, God's got me. And you know, the day I'd done the shot, a couple of days later, my legs started hurting just a tad bit. But I noticed I was working. Mm-hmm. I was sleeping. I was eating.
Sleeping. That's huge.
Yes. Yeah, because when you're withdrawing, everybody knows there's no sleep.
Right.
I was doing everything, and I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Right.
So I noticed, like, what I was telling myself, my mind was at ease. So when your body's good, you know.
Right.
So my legs was just hurting. No withdrawing, you know, as bad as it was. Well, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I got this. So I called New Lease, and I told New Lease, I said, I'm not coming back. They're all freaking out, like, oh, my God, no. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. So that's what this necklace is. Lakin, part of my upline. Now 15, 20, 20. No more swaxing.
Awesome.
I did it on my own.
That's good.
Yep.
Wow. Because I just feel it's a crutch for so long, and you used it for 17 months.
Yep.
Right?
And I was dependent.
18 months.
Yeah. And I was dependent on something. I got tired of that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm sober, why am I still dependent on something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Same.
That day.
Are you still dependent on something? Caffeine?
Caffeine-wise, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a struggle too, right?
Yep.
Stacy's talked to me about that.
Yep.
And how she kind of quit caffeine and try to...
Well, I'm going to tell myself. This is the first time in 2 years I've drunk a Red Bull.
What? Why? Why today?
I don't know.
Give me that thing. He can go throw it away.
But yeah, it's that energy. You know what I mean? It's that energy. I guess that's what I love so much of. Mm-hmm. I don't now, but I'm saying when I was getting high, that's what I loved. It was, in my mind, I was getting that energy, you know, but the worst part was coming down and telling it. It's awful, but it was that energy that it gave me. So when I started thriving, you know, I had that energy. And that's what I love about Mod Air, you know, because it's all clean living. And you don't have to worry about them putting this chemical and this chemical to make your energy. But you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about that. Like, it's all clean living. So the Go, it gives you, like, clean energy. Like, you're not going to feel groggy afterwards or... Because, like, I noticed just sitting here with that Red Bull, I'm like I could feel it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, you know.
Well, I've been on a health journey myself here lately. Last 75 days, well, it's 40-ish days somewhere now. It's a Andy Frisella type thing, but it's 75 hard where you do two 45-minute workouts, no alcohol, which is easy for me.
Right.
No alcohol, no cheat days, any diet you want, as long as you stick to it, no cheat days. 75 days, and read 10 pages of a nonfiction book, usually self-help for me, a day, which I've finished already like 3 books. Just 10 pages a day.
That's good.
And it's only like 45 days. It's weird. One of them was short, and another one was I was finishing up, but at least I finished it. You know, it just creates that discipline. But I'd like to challenge you on that clean living. I'd like to see... I'd like to see you read one book that I read, Eat Smarter by Sean Stevenson, and it's basically about processed foods and the synthetic stuff that they bring in and what it does to our cells and our anti-aging. But anywho, health is another kick. I get to do it with Stacy on the next podcast. Her nutritionist is calling in, and we're going to discuss those type of things because it is important, right? Yeah. And where I was going with that is I can tell when I eat white bread now. Oh, my gosh. Like, I got invited to a great luncheon yesterday with some contractors, and they had these club sandwiches, and they were awesome. And I ate 2 of them. And, I mean, I couldn't even keep my eyes open. I was like...
The fatigue.
Oh, my gosh. I couldn't believe it. So, it's definitely crazy how things affect our body, especially Red Bull and everything. Don't sue me, Red Bull, but I like them, too. Caffeine is probably my fix right now. besides my daughters and my family. So,
Yep.
so what's home life look like for you now? Tell me about your family. You have said you had 2 kids.
Yes. So,
You got one kid that's never seen you high.
yep, my baby.
Never will. You get the opportunity.
Yep.
Did you know that?
And I know. And that's what I told my mom. I said, man, she'll never know.
She'll never get to.
Never know. She'll never
Right.
get to experience it. And my mom's like, well, that's awesome.
It is.
My mom, she's just.
Tell me about your mom now as a grandmother. What do you see in her?
Man, she's amazing. So my mom is 50. And a couple years ago, she got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer again and stage 4 lung cancer.
Wow.
But they got her on chemo pills. And I'm telling you, Justin, if you see my mama, you would never even know she has cancer.
Of course not. You know why? Because she has trained herself for years that no matter what happened to her, she wasn't going to show you. She wasn't going to show you have siblings, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't going to show your siblings.
Yep.
She was going to dig in and do what she had to do for her family. And that's exactly what she's doing now, which is absolutely amazing towards her character. I mean, guys can't wrap their head around it at all. Trust me, I have I grew up with 4 sisters. I was right dead in the middle, 2 younger step, 2 older. I call them real, but I'm sure there's a more scientific word. But women in general, I mean, I don't do anything. I'm supportive and I unload the dishwasher and do all this stuff, but what women do on a day-to-day basis, guys will never be able to relate with unless they're a single father and they do it themselves. And there's no way that they do it as great as a single mom. So I have true respect for that. But and in extreme situations too, like your mom was in, working 3 jobs, whatever. So it doesn't surprise me that I wouldn't know it, seeing her now.
Yeah, she is like, when I say my mama is beyond the strongest woman I have ever met in my life, literally. So before COVID started getting big, before anybody ever really heard of it, 2 years ago, or almost 3 years ago. Anyways, she was in the hospital, and that's when she found out she was in Brooks. Matter of fact, and they are the one they couldn't diagnose her, but he told her you got lung cancer. Well, anyway, so she waited 13 hours for a bed, got into Suburban on Dutchman, and she had talked to my son at 4 o'clock. Okay, by 7 o'clock, well, she was sitting there and she was like I can't breathe, and it just got worse, and the poor nurse had no idea what was going on, and she's running around, and they had my mom on that machine and had it maxed out. Well, I was like, ma'am, what's going on? And she's like, we're going to have to sedate her. Mm-hmm. It was by far the worst thing. They had no idea. I think she had COVID.
Right.
Where nobody had any idea. She couldn't breathe. They sedated her, and, they did all that stuff, and it was just crazy. Her heart rate was beating 198 per minute. Like, they was surrounding the bed. Like, they was waiting for her heart to blow up.
Right.
And I'm like, my mom's good. Like, she's strong. Like, she's got this. And they're like, man, like, there's just no way. Well, anyways, her heart rate started slowing down, and my son and his dad left. And by 11 o'clock, my sister has called me and my other sister. Mom's awake. My mom woke up. And it was so crazy because that little nurse was like, Miss Leslie, if you can hear me, move your leg. My mom started kicking her legs. And, she's got that life support, and she's all freaking out because before she fell asleep, she says, sis, what are they doing? I'm scared. I was like, don't be scared. And that's when she got sedated. So that was like my last words, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, she woke up and.
Is your mom faith-filled, Christian-wise? I mean, all of her life, has she always tried to find that somewhere, you always knew it was around, you knew Jesus was with her?
Yeah. She never went to church, and she believes, you know what I mean? Still today, she'll open her Bible and read it, or, she talks about God and what God's done for her and what he is doing for her. And I'm calling my child's father, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want a preacher come up here because my mom needs to ask for forgiveness, and my child's father, Daniel, he was like, Tracy, you know what you got to do. Like, nobody's going to be able to make it up there. You know what you got to do. I'm like, I don't know what to do, you know. He's like, just talk to him, talk to God, but you know what you got to do. So I asked my mom, and when she was awake, and I was holding her hand, I said, Mama, I said, you want to pray to God? And she's like, yeah. So I was doing all the talking for her, and man, it was crazy, you know what I mean? And I'm telling you, my mom has been through everything from beaten to run over to all of this, and so many, like over 20 surgeries. And, you know, she deals with just having one breast because of the breast cancer. And her hair's always been long and curly. And, you know, she's got her hair back, but it's not as, you know, curly and long. My mom's been through it all, man. Like, I really, really, really do look up to her. And I tell her all the time, I will never be half of the woman or mom as you been, but I try my hardest, you know?
Well, what worth that is to yourself, seeing your mom go through all this stuff, and a woman like that be proud of you.
Yeah.
Like that, if that's not self worth, like
Right.
I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So that's a life worth living for sure.
Exactly.
Tracy, we could probably talk for another.
I
There's going to be a
know.
part two. There's got to
Okay.
be a part two.
Yeah,
You know,
there's
because
so much more.
well, no, that's great. Please don't like we're not on a time restraint at all, so don't think that.
Okay.
But is there anything that you know that you came in here for sure and that you wanted somebody to know besides just the hearing your mom's story is amazing to me. It just gives that hope and strength alone and just that, right? But is there something that you knew that you wanted to share today that maybe you knew that would help somebody 100% that we haven't talked about or that we have? Either way, it doesn't have to be, but did you like envision this and you're like, you know what, I'm going to share that because I know that's so important to somebody?
So on my way here, like, I was nervous, but anyways, I just want to, the ones that's out here struggling, and it don't even have to be drugs, guys. It don't even have to be alcohol. Just struggling, period, in life. Like, you know, you just feel like there's no more holding on. You're on the edge, and you're about to bust. And I promise you, I don't, I don't care who it is, where you're at listening to this. If you feel like giving up, don't. look at look at your kids in the eye. Look what you got in life. Or, you know, if you're homeless and you're living on the street, because I was there, just think, yeah, I can have this. And you can. You can take that next step to do it. Reach out. There's so many people out here, man. Just reach out. And I know a lot of people's got egos and their pride's like, I don't need nobody's help. Bullcrap.
I need help today. And my
today.
ego's crazy.
Right.
And no doubt.
It's just, man, don't be afraid. And when I say this, please, nobody hate me. Getting sober is the easiest part.
Right.
Staying sober is the hardest part.
And learning to suffer well.
Because, yeah, you might have all these coping skills and all this, but that devil is on your shoulder and on your tail every day, every second to see what he can do to push you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when my God steps in and says, not her, not today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
and you have to be willing to do things like this. You have to be willing to sit across from somebody and tell them and talk to them and understand that you're not alone.
Right. And
whether it's suicide, anxiety, single mom problems, boyfriend problems, domestic violence,
Yep.
PTSD, depression, insomnia, it doesn't matter.
You're
not alone. There's no way. And you're not alone in your successes either.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
you think you're doing great, and then you meet somebody, you're like, wow, how'd they do that? Well, they love to sit down and tell you. It works in a positive way as well. So thank you so much for being an open book. And the moment I met you, you said, I'm super nervous. I'm like, it's okay. It's just a conversation. And then we sat down and had, we put the headphones on and kind of get that experience to kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to be fine. So I really appreciate it. And God bless Mama, because I'd love to meet her someday because she sounds wonderful. And I know she's proud.
Oh, yes. Very.
Well, yeah. Heck yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking your time today. And this is The Human Experience, where we share human truth. And remember, you're not alone, no matter what it is.
That's right. And you're very welcome.
Awesome.